So this is our Tom Girardi update, trial day 3, and I think maybe now would be a good time, Stewart, just to give a recap of where we're at. This is the trial of once super lawyer Tom Girardi, very famous plaintiff's trial attorney, has made hundreds of millions, probably billions of dollars of collections for clients. And he's being accused of taking the money that would come in for clients, the settlements, and not just taking his portion for his fees, but taking the client's portion as well. And the current criminal trial in Los Angeles, he's looking at liability of upwards of $15 million that was stolen. And that's the basis of this criminal case. And so we heard from a couple witnesses on day 2, and now on day 3, we have a new witness who has appeared and is giving testimony against Tom Girardi. It's a former law clerk and a former associate of the firm. And she has some things to say about the way that Mr. Girardi ran his firm. And Stewart, do you want to kind of take it from there and give us an update on what you think about this?
Well, when I was reading the outstanding article, and who's the reporter that did that for law.com?
Oh yeah, let me pull it up. So that's Amanda Bromstad. I'll show that on the screen real quick. So this is law.com. She's been doing some excellent reporting. She's sitting there in the trial every day. And this is her latest update on the Girardi trial.
So as I was reading her article on day 3 of the trial, it reminded me of the tale of Icarus, where Icarus and his father escaped from prison. And I think that's the story. And anyway, he had wings of wax to fly, because his father was a great inventor and had invented these wax wings to fly away from prison. And his father had told Icarus, don't fly too close to the sun because you'll melt your wings and you'll fall to your death. And Icarus couldn't stand it, and he was flying and enjoying himself. And he did indeed fly too close to the sun and ended up falling and dying. And here you see this attorney who was unanimously respected by everybody. Plaintiffs' lawyers wanted to be Tom Girardi. Plaintiffs' lawyers would create their firms, and they would try to run their firms like Tom Girardi, because everyone wanted to get to that level. And the respect that he had, not only from public officials, but from private individuals, was immense. And here's a man that has all of that respect, who can walk into courtrooms and do things that many other lawyers don't have the opportunity to do. And he's taking money, apparently, according to the testimony, for himself, not giving his clients money. And he's making the most ridiculous excuses as to why he cannot pay a client the money that they're due for the death of a husband in Lake Havasu in Arizona. He's telling the client that it's a woman tax issue with the IRS. It's a woman tax issue, I've never even heard of such a bizarre rendition of why somebody can't be paid. And then further, this young associate, apparently, that was working in his firm, she's talking to Tom, and Tom yells and screams at her and tells her, she has nothing else to add to the case. But at some point, Tom says that he's going to go have dinner with an LA Superior Court judge to get this all figured out and resolved. But the associate is left confused because this is an Arizona case, and why is an LA Superior Court judge being consulted? So it just boggles my mind a little bit that this guy had everything going for him, like Icarus did. He was nobody could touch this guy. You couldn't take the shine off of him. He was wonderful, and he could have done so much good with all of that political capital he had. But no, he's telling his clients, because he wants to take their money, he's telling them that there's a female tax issue with the IRS, or he's going to go have dinner with an LA Superior Court judge to talk about an Arizona case. It's not just a tragedy. It's almost pathetic to think about somebody with that much respect and that so many people admiring him, and that's really who he was at his core.
Yeah, and the person you're talking about is Alexa Galloway. She was a law clerk and then an associate at Girardi and Keese. And specifically, she testified that Girardi told her the reason why the firm could not pay the client her share of the settlement proceeds from the Lake Havasu boat crash is because of a very unfair tax issue that affects women and not men. Now, if there was such a tax law, that would be very unfair. I would agree with that. There is no such tax law. There's no tax law that taxes women more than men that I'm aware of, and certainly not when it comes to personal injury settlements. But that was the excuse, which is really, like you said, really just outlandish and kind of pathetic. I mean, it's not even trying to tell the truth. And the other thing that was interesting is they showed evidence of this settlement check being deposited. A $504,000 settlement check arrives at the firm, but then the firm withdraws $513,000, which included their $180,000 in fees, and they just withdraw it into their own account. And you can see that $504,000 is less than $513,000, so they literally take the entire fee. And apparently, this lady was paid some money over time, but the ethical rules in California are very clear. You cannot take client money that belongs to a client that's in your trust account and move it into your general operating account. If you're going to pay a client their portion of the settlement, you pay it from the trust account to the client. It never touches a general operating account. That's a big no-no. And of course, this is why it's a big no-no, because it's not your money. In the trust account, we cannot touch that money. If it's client money, it has to stay in there. And the only time it comes out is when you write a check directly to the client, not to yourself, not to your operating account. You would never do that. And yet that's what happened in this case. We also saw testimony that, once again, Mr. Girardi, according to Alexa Galloway, became more upset each time she asked about, hey, where's the client's settlement check? To the point where their last phone call they had, he just hung up on her after screaming at her. So once again, we're seeing the intimidation and the anger coming out when the tough questions are being asked. So let me ask you this, Stuart. What did you think about the point in the article where they're talking about Tom's brother and what his excuse and reasoning is as to why these settlements weren't being paid out?
Well, he seems to be bringing this defense forward that we're seeing now through the defense attorney, and that is that Tom's mental abilities aren't there. But again, I'm having problems squaring that, because if he doesn't have the ability to even understand what's happening, how is he able to construct these ideas of, there's a tax issue that's outstanding, and that's why I can't give you your distribution. He's apparently the only one that could sign the checks at the firm. And like you said, there's a transfer of all the money from one account to the other. Was that Christopher Kamen? Was that Tom Girardi? Was it both of them? So this idea that the brother's putting out there that Tom doesn't have the ability to understand this stuff, I mean, that's ultimately what the jury's going to have to determine here. Was this an old, confused man that didn't know what he was doing? Or was this a guy that understood what he's doing, and now he's trying to cover that up by saying, hey, I don't have the mental ability to understand what I did? I'm not there. I'm not in the courtroom. We're relying on these reporters who are doing excellent work, and they're giving us good stuff to read every day. But I just think the jury's not going to buy this. But what are your thoughts about all of that?
Yeah, it is hard to square. And, apparently Tom's brother Jack wrote an email to Alexa saying, unfortunately, and this is in 2020, unfortunately, Tom is not at a stage where he can have much of an understanding about any documents that come his way. But what they pointed out is that was around the time in 2020 when everything went south, when Tom Girardi started using cognitive decline as an excuse. But the reporter also mentioned that there was a number of sidebars during the trial that day, and Mr. Girardi joined one of them and was apparently...
I'm interrupting you, Keith, but that hit me, actually. That was yesterday. Yesterday at trial, day 3 of the trial, Tom Girardi, the client, actually went to sidebar with his lawyer. Now, Keith, we've done a lot of trial work. I have never seen that happen before. I've never seen a client come to a sidebar. And that clearly is a guy that's interested in the case, in my mind, wants to know what's going on, is being controlling, wants to control what's happening, wants to be there. And he's using a federal public defender, right? Because he's completely out of money. He's bankrupt, apparently. So, I don't know if he's not happy with his lawyer. He obviously was I can't take away from Tom Girardi. He was a great trial lawyer. And he did a lot for plaintiffs' lawyers in the sense that he taught many lawyers how to talk to jurors, how to get jurors to be persuaded to your side of the case. So he knew how to sweet talk people, and he did a good job of that. But now we're left with this man who either is incapacitated or he's controlling his trial, and the jury's going to see that. it seems to me that he's got capacity. And he's 85. Anybody who's 85, there's going to be a slowdown in processing and executive function and those types of things. But it appears this guy is still here. It appears he still understands things. And in fact, a judge actually ruled, I think it was this judge, if I'm not mistaken, ruled he's competent to stand trial.
Yeah, he was found to be competent to stand trial. And you figure at 85, if he is found guilty and he's given any amount of time in jail, it's pretty much a life sentence. I mean, he's not long for the world at this point, you would think. When you get up to 85, your life expectancy, especially as a man, is not great. So it's a life sentence, and he's facing other criminal trials too. But everything that we're seeing, it's hard to take seriously this lack of mental decline. And that just prompted another thought in my mind. Will Tom Girardi take the stand? What do you think?
That's interesting. Well, I mean, this is a criminal case, correct?
It's a criminal case. He doesn't have to testify against himself. He has the right to not take the stand. But he's kind of facing two different things here. One is he obviously wants to defend himself, and he probably, as a trial lawyer, would have a hard time not getting up and saying something. Or maybe he wants to get up and demonstrate his own lack of cognitive abilities by getting up on the stand and acting like he has dementia, or actually showing that he has dementia if he does have it. But it's a double-edged sword, too, because he could get completely lambasted on cross-examination if he takes the stand. And why would he take the stand if he lacks capacity?
Well, what this reminds me of, and I can't recall the guy's name, I don't know why, but I watched the whole trial in South Carolina, the attorney down there that killed his son and killed his wife.
Yes.
I can't recall his name, but he couldn't help himself. He took the stand. And everyone thought he would not take the stand, and then he did, and that the jurors didn't believe a darn thing the guy had to say. So this reminds me a little bit of that moment in time. So does Tom Girardi get up there and try to show that he doesn't have the ability to process and understand, and doesn't have the cognitive ability to understand even what was happening, and it's really some other person, i.e. Andrew Kamen or whoever, that is the real villain here? Or does he get up there and he can't help himself because he's a control freak, and the jury goes, God, this guy knows everything that's going on, and I'm going to hold him accountable for what he's done?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. This is kind of the moment in the Tom Girardi trial that's equivalent to OJ trying on the glove, right? I mean, it could go very well or it could go very badly.
Yes. And which way did the OJ trial go again? I can't quite remember.
Well, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. And I don't.
Johnny Cochran said it so much better.
Yeah, he did. Well, that's why he was Johnny Cochran and I'm not. But it is an interesting issue. We're going to have to see how that one plays out. We're just barely getting started in the witnesses. We had two yesterday. We had one yesterday, two the day before. We're going over day 3. I'm sure there's going to be a boatload more witnesses to come as we're going through and watching this trial. And then, of course, the defense will be able to go. So far, what I've heard about the cross-examination has not been particularly effective. For example, the Havasu boat crash, the defense attorney was trying to show that there was personal checks written to this lady where she did eventually get her $250,000, which was about what she should have got, which about doesn't make me feel real comfortable. And personal checks also are inappropriate. But I think, again, that's undercutting the issue of, everything worked out in the end, didn't it? And so how bad was this? I don't find that to be a credible line of cross-examination, but it might have been really all that was there that you could work with at this point with this witness.
Yeah. Well, I'm very interested to see how this case goes. Obviously, are they dark today or are they going forward? Do you know?
I don't know. No, I should have looked that up.
Well, in any event, it'll either be today or Monday when we can pick up again. And so we can give another update. And again, there's some really good reporting going on this. So let's see where this case ends up going.
Yeah, and we'll continue with our daily updates on the Tom Girardi trial as we move forward.